Since 1945, Weatherby's been building the finest firearms and ammunition in the world. And today, we're proud to continue that legacy from our facility in Sheridan, Wyoming. This is On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
Welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. I am going to be your host today. I am Tyler Grayton, and I am joined by Adam Weatherby, Koby Owens, and thanks to a little bit of technology, we have a special guest, Mr. Steve Baldwin. Steve, I'll let you introduce yourself because I've heard so many stories, and this is our first time meeting. So,
yeah, Tyler, thanks, man. It's nice meeting you officially. And aloha. I'm on vacation right now. Don't live here in Hawaii. Wish I did, but I'm from a land far from away from here, and that's up in Alaska. And so born and raised in Montana until I was about 12. Moved to Alaska, kind of right about the time I was getting super interested in hunting, and quickly discovered that it was the land of Mecca. So stayed, and I've been there since. Other than that, yeah, pretty straightforward, man. Just kind of here for the outdoors and enjoy people like Adam and Koby joining me on our last expedition. It was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, that sounds so. I've heard a little bit about this expedition. Adam, maybe set the story. How'd you and Steve meet, and then what this adventure entails?
Yeah, I got invited to speak at an event up in Alaska, and it was like a Christian-based men's ministry fundraiser outdoor thing up there. And so I met Steve. I actually flew up there, and then Steve's like, yeah, just park your plane at my place. I live on a runway. I'm like, of course you do. Oh, yeah, and my dad started a backcountry cub flying school. I'm like, yeah, of course he did. And then pretty soon he talked about hunting, and we talked about flying. And so I went up there and just met him, and we formed a friendship and started saying we should do something fun together. And it wasn't too much later, I found myself back in Alaska with Koby, doing all the things that we did here this fall.
Yeah, actually, I think it was, so we just dropped a Kodiak film, and you met a pilot on that trip, which then got you invited to that talking engagement, which then made you two meet. So there's just like this really cool Alaska flying community, small world of how this all kind of came together. So,
and it changed like 5 times. Remember this fall, all the things we were going to do?
Oh, dude. But I think that's good though, right? You got to be able to pivot, right? But it did change a lot.
Yeah, and then right after I came back, he's like, "Oh yeah, I just got a call from a dude. I'm gonna go shoot a polar bear, so I'm out of here." And then he went and did that. So it's hard to pin him down, but we pinned him down for a week in Alaska, and literally just kind of it was like a charcuterie board of hunting and fishing in Alaska. It was like, ooh, I'll take some salami, I'll take some fine cheese, right? Wasn't that what it was, basically?
Oh, it totally was, yeah. But I feel like with those adventures, you have to, as we all know in the outdoor world, it's like weather determines everything you're going to actually go and do. So if you have, like Adam's saying, a number of options, you just sit back. When people show up, gears shaking down, you're ready to roll. All right, what's the weather doing? Okay, that sucks that direction. Let's go this direction. Let's go fishing or hunting or ducks or whatever it might be. And then your whole adventure finally kind of falls together without a plan, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, this one was like the ultimate Alaskan adventure. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, like Adam was saying. And then at the end of it, to have it line up how it did and in every stage of it be successful in its own way was a pretty cool thing in itself, too.
And Koby came along to document it. So when if you're listening to this podcast, you're going to be like, oh, it'd be cool if they did a film on this. And Koby made it back alive on this one and fully intact, and is going to make an epic film that'll launch sometime in 2025.
Yeah. Man, one of my favorite things about Alaska and Weatherby and how the synergy between Weatherby and Alaska is Adam's telling me all of these ideas, and it's like, yeah, well, it's weather dependent, but we can do all of these things from duck hunting to backpacking to hunting goats. It's like, well, we make shotguns, we make rifles, we make long range stuff, we make lightweight stuff. It's like the perfect testing ground. So I'm like, whatever you end up doing, yes. So you have the full marketing, go take Koby, do the thing. So I was trying to live vicariously through you guys, and it's Alaska's a pretty special place. So
Yeah, documenting this one was like a little bit different too, because we had so many ideas floating around and we were like had no set timeline. And so it presented that challenge of me of just having to roll with the punches, which I do typically, but it was different because, I didn't know until that morning I woke up often of like, oh, what are we going to go after today? What camera gear do I need? How do I need to prepare for this? And so I think it's going to be a good film, and it turned out good, but it's wild seeing how doing it differently changes how I look at it and overall tell that story too, I think.
Yeah, I think typically when we do a trip like this, we'll do what we call a content brief, where we kind of have a plan. Well, I think this content brief was just at Alaska, and then there was nothing there because it was just going to be like whatever you guys ended up doing. So maybe you guys start transitioning to how this started unfolding. Again, I'm a little shaky on your guys' timeline, so I'll just let you guys take it from there.
Stevie?
One thing I want to say is, like, in Koby's position, for him to be able to pivot from one thing, like deep entrenched in filming whatever it is we were hunting or catching, and then we're kind of at the end of the day at a reset, and then Koby being like, oh my gosh, Northern Lights are out, we got to roll. And so now he's filming again. For him to just continue to roll with the punches, basically from the time he woke up in the morning to the time he went to bed at night, there was like no off switch for you, I felt like.
No, that's something it's kind of funny that since I started here and when I'm not out in the field, I have to try and find that on-off switch because when I was working for myself before, it was wake up and work till I go to bed. But now in the office, there's that off switch. But out in the field when I'm going, there is no off switch. I don't have one. When I'm out there, I fully immerse myself in it. So, yeah.
It's true. No, it's a good
Content
observation.
doesn't have a plan. It just happens when it happens,
And that's how I like to document things, is I like to tell the story as how it unfolds and try to not influence it and just be authentic, right? I like trying to present authenticity in how things actually happen.
Yeah, if you start with doing cool things, like trying to do cool things, that story starts to write itself, and it makes your job, it's really hard, but then it starts making it easier as you get through the trip.
Yeah.
Coming back to your question, I think one of the things for this trip was like, how are we going to get around? And what's really cool is Steve's a really good pilot. He flies professionally, really big things, like 747s. Borderline. I don't know. He gets paid to fly. I fly and try to land alive. So, he had the Cub, the Super Cub type of thing. But then he's got a buddy that's got a boat. So we're like, well, that's going to come in handy. He's got, other buddies with duck blinds, and he's got other buddies that, fish for giant trout on the Kenai. And so it was always like, wait, like, who's not Steve's buddy? And so basically it was kind of like Steve's buddy's trips, and we'd be there and he'd be like, hey bro, the weather's bad. We're going to probably hop on the 185. We'll be there like in an hour and let's go catch big fish. Okay, we'll see you soon. Bye. Like, that's kind of how the trip was.
No doubt.
The whole time. So we get there that night, we go out, sight in some rifles in a riverbed, and then I think sunrise the next morning, he's like, okay, here's the deal. We can't go to Prince William Sound. Weather's going to be too bad. Can't go fly up high. Weather's going to be too bad. But what we can do is we'll hop in the Cub. We'll put my 100-pound golden retriever, who retrieves phenomenally in slow motion, in the back of the Cub. And so I get up in the morning. We get waiters. Like, basically, I find myself in the Cub behind Steve. He's putting his helmet on. And
it's dark out. It's pitch black.
And I'm sitting in there, and there's a 100-pound golden retriever.
Legitimately.
Yeah. I won't say his name. He's unnamed. No, just kidding. His name's Benelli. And Benelli's sitting there with his... Yeah, it was rough.
Soon to change to Weatherby.
He renamed all his pets and children's, other gun makers' names before we got there. I went in, saw his little boy Winchester and his daughter Browning. But anyway, so I'm joking about that. But I wake up the next morning, and Koby's off with his buddy and in another Cub, and we just went like double Cub status to just go fly out to the duck land and shoot a morning of ducks and test out some new shotguns we're going to be launching. So that was like, well, we just got here, and we didn't know what we were going to be doing. And in the morning, we found ourselves in a plane and went and just smashed a whole bunch of ducks. It was super fun. But that was just another morning for you.
Nah, I mean, I kind of had to make things happen. I knew you guys were coming to town, but it was awesome. The fact that it's only just a few minutes from the house, climbing the plane, go. Yeah, we try to leave at night, or in the dark, so you're getting there right at daybreak to at least see enough to see the runway you're trying to land on. And you saw the margins there. There's not a whole lot of left and right you got to kind of be on the mark in the dark,
Really?
and then throw the decoys out as quickly as possible and be ready for the morning push on birds. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember you said, that your buddy'd put out like, little solar lights so we could maybe see. It was like the $10 Home Depot ones that were like knocked over. So I was glad there was a little bit of light.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, we got a lot of great content. I don't know. I mean, we were one shy of limiting. Was it 7 ducks to limit?
Well, you can't win them all. You got to leave one out there to. Yeah.
So
we're one shot.
It was awesome, and lined up the ducks and the tail of the plane afterwards, and we were there in the morning just hanging out and getting a bunch of good footage. It was awesome to see the golden retriever. We kept laughing because you just go out there and just would walk back, but then a bunch of other ducks would come over and he'd just be like doo 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 doo, but he'd always get you the bird back every time.
Well, Steve, I'm an avid waterfowl, so when I heard about this whole plane and flying into ducks, I'm like, I have never seen anything like that before. So from a marketing perspective, I'm so excited to see this film, or at least this portion of it. I know it's gonna get even crazier as we get the story going, but man, that is one of the coolest waterfowl
right afterwards too. They went up in their Cubs and did some takeoffs and landings in this little thing at Koby, and I went out there and just Koby did. We got a bunch of really good footage.
Well,
too.
you have an iPhone, so it's probably just as good as
I'll show you.
So.
No, I put the f-stops on and the ISOs and stuff.
Close.
Okay.
Yeah. But
yeah, you don't know what you're talking about.
But no, that was a super awesome morning. I just remember being there and after we flew back, telling all my buddies, even though I didn't have a gun in my hand, I felt like I did in a way because of just being there and experiencing it and obviously documenting it. But I remember texting all my buddies from college who I used to duck hunt with, dude, sending them picture and video of landing with the Cubs and then the whole duck hunting thing. So it's one of those moments that was just whoa, that was pretty cool. I didn't know people duck hunted like this. Take a plane to duck hunt, that's awesome. So it was really fun to document. And was that the first hunting with those shotguns?
Yeah, that would have been the first hunt.
Yeah,
first hunt with them.
shotguns.
Yeah, Alaska's just a really good place to test things. We'll leave it at
And
that
then
for shotguns.
after we were done too, and Steve goes, "Hey, let's go scout for bears." So then we leave with all our ducks in the plane, and then went and scouted for bears from the air. So it was pretty fun. We didn't see any bears, but it was fun. So
it's kind of interesting. Alaska is this very unique place where most people are thinking of hop in the truck or hop on the 4-wheeler or get the horses, the kind of the typical stuff, which is great in its own way. But in Alaska, you really don't have the infrastructure or anything like that to get access to the land. So the airplane becomes your next best option, which is neat. So we kind of use the airplanes as a tool like people would use a 4-wheeler or a pickup truck. It just happens to have wings.
did you ever get your plane washed up after that day yet, or is it still
No,
dirty?
it's still in the hangar waiting for you to come clean it. So
we slung some mud on that thing. Yeah. What size are your tires on there?
35s.
That's like a jacked up pickup truck.
Dude.
No, Steve, it was interesting when you were saying planes are like tools. When I think of Alaska, I think of like lots of opportunity, kind of remote, and then just logistics, right? You got to get to what you're going to hunt. So there's planes, boats, all the things that you guys are talking about. So,
but it's cool. You just hop into his hangar and he's like, here's a tote of waders. Let's go. It's and then what's cool is we got back that night and we just wanted to go hunt big game. Mm-hmm. And so we were scouting for bears, but the weather was going to be super bad. Him and Koby went out and flew for a little bit. Weather was super bad. Koby got some good footage. And we're like, what are we going to go do? And then he's like, we're going to call Vic. Vic's on the Kenai, and we're going to go catch a 30-inch trout. And I said, okay. So we hopped in the station wagon, the 185, and we went up to the Kenai. And that was kind of adventure number 2, to go fishing on the Kenai. There'd maybe be a little bit of salmon in there, but the idea was to catch monster rainbows.
Monster rainbows.
So you made a plane joke, and I'm not a plane guy. Is the station wagon, that's a little bigger plane to fit more people?
It's a sky wagon.
Yeah, it's a sky wagon. Yeah, I call it the grocery getter. But yeah, it basically can fit the family and groceries and whatever. So we load in that when we need to go somewhere, quick with some stuff, we'll probably grab that.
So why is catching big trout on the Kenai special? Like, what, as an Alaska person, like, what, what's it? Because, like, I think, we didn't know, like, how special it was,
Yeah, I just think, I think so many people come to Alaska and they're enamored with salmon and halibut, but mostly, like, salmon get all of this, like, from an out-of-staters perspective, it gets all the traction. And so for locals and stuff like that, yeah, it's awesome to go and smash out salmon and catch a big king if it's open or whatever it is. But, man, when you talk about rainbows, yeah, there's rainbows all over the place, but there's not 30-inch rainbows all over the place. And so that's why when people go to the Kenai, there is the opportunity there, which there isn't a whole lot of opportunity anywhere else to actually catch a 30-inch rainbow. And we were able to bring in 2 of these 30 inches or more. I think yours went 32 or something. But either way, a fish that big of that magnitude is just, that's awesome. That's like catching a 60-pound king. It's just doesn't happen very often. So that was such a special morning. At least for me, it was just going out. The weather was beautiful. We got the big bows, and that was the mission on that day,
Yeah, super fun day. And your reaction to like catching your big fish was pretty cool to be a part of. Like, you were stoked. Adam was stoked. That was super fun to be a part of.
It was cool. It was a fun day.
What were you guys throwing? Like, you guys were fly fishing?
Yeah, but we can't. There's secret recipes.
It's Vic's secret sauce.
Secret sauce.
See, I like that answer. I'm glad I asked. So
it's Vic's secret sauce. We can't give away secret sauce
in Alaska, but whatever.
Yeah, so we just flew up there, and that night after duck hunting, just got up the next morning, spent the morning fishing, and
we roughed it.
Huge.
We roughed it intense. It was raining. We got rained out. Oh wait, no, we were sitting in a comfy lodge. I forgot about that.
Hey.
Adam had a shower that morning before he went fishing.
I think I did. Yeah. So at this point, we haven't even started the big game hunting, but we've already got 30-inch salmon on the Kenai. We've already almost limited on ducks, like flying in.
Just some really cool flying experiences, like flying in those cubs. Like, I'd flown in 206s before, and those cubs were something else. That was just a blast.
What's cool is I told Steve, I called Brenda, I usually talk when I'm gone. And, one of her things was, okay, find out Steve, you haven't known him a long time. And, everybody knows the statistic record up in Alaska and flying, all those things. And I just go, babe, trust this guy. I trust this guy. And he is. Your family's got a lot of aviation in the history, and, we spent a lot of time talking about it in the air. But, I remember flying back from the Kenai, and we were in the 185, and we're flying over some water, and he just immediately goes, okay, engine goes out right now, where are you landing? And, just constantly safety-minded. And so as much as you talk about a lot of things that we did and risk and different things, it was, cool to be able to be with somebody who flies as much as Steve did and really just kind of learn from him. So for me, as a more amateur pilot, it was super fun to fly around with him.
Yeah, man, cool. I just think, and I love, and with you, when I would put you in those scenarios, in your answers were like textbook. You'd be like, well, this is what I would do. And I know you've done a fair amount of flying based off the answers you were giving me and the feedback. I'm like, oh man, okay. Can't really teach Adam much. He kind of knows it. But
I don't know. Landing on those places that you did is a little different than I do, but it's good. It's fun. So just the flying part was kind of a fun connection, and that's why I think Steve and I connected. It was hunting, it was a flying part, and like you said, it was a trifecta. So we met at a faith-based thing, and our relationship with God, and those things are important. So we just kind of hit it off, in a lot of the similar things, passion for his family, and just a lot of the similar things. And so flying was kind of a thing that connected us too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like this cool mix of spontaneous but still calculated. It's cool polling of this adventure. So that's pretty cool. So after fishing, what was the next thing?
Let's go to Prince William Sound and go shoot.
What did we do? I think we came back and we had a day of okay, we need to regroup for this next thing, didn't we? Or am I off?
Maybe.
I thought we had a day there where we were like, all right, we got to regroup for a minute, and then we were off to the races the next morning.
We might have,
we went to
waiting for weather.
We went to Band of Brothers coffee shop, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And then just kind of packed for Prince William Sound.
That's right.
And
then it was his other buddy. Am I allowed to say everybody's names, or do they not want them on podcast?
Oh, drop them like it's hot, man. No worries, Gino.
Okay, so right, so we've already had Leo and his duck stuff, and then we had Vic on the Kenai, and then it was his buddy Gino, and Gino has got the boat, and so we are gonna go, and on the menu it's kind of like an a la carte menu, everything from it was gonna be sea ducks, some good ocean fishing, some black bear, Sitka black-tailed deer, and mountain goat.
And Vic's egg rolls.
And Vic came. So Vic came, and he did the cooking on the boat and hung out with us. And, yeah, Vic had some really... How many egg rolls did you have in one sitting?
Probably 20.
That's where they all went. I came back to the donut, and it was all cleared out.
So we just took off, went really far. So, just way into the sound, and decided to go out there and just kind of do all those things. So that's what we did.
Yeah, and this is what, a 32-foot boat? Is it 32?
28, something
It's
like
like
that.
32 or 30. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah. And there
7 of us?
Yeah.
I say it comfortably does 6, uncomfortably does 7 or something.
Yeah, it was cozy to say the least, so it was a good thing everyone was good company.
So you guys did, so you listed off a bunch of things. You guys were, like, where did that day take you? Did you end up fishing?
So we did, a whole lot of kind of getting to where we were going that day. And then actually at the end of the day, we started glass for goats. Steve was up for a goat as a non-resident. I can't hunt goat without an outfitter, a guide. And, just to make it clear, there's nobody paid. There's no transporter. There's no guide. This was friends doing friend things. So just to be clear. But, so because of that, he was up for goat. I was probably going to be up for like deer and bear. Right. And then Vic's brother was along too. And he had, as a resident, could hunt goat and stuff. So we actually, here's the deal. Spotting goats from a boat is pretty easy. It's like white cotton balls up on the hill, right?
There's so many of them.
So easy, especially you guys coming off the tar hunt from last year. How much easier were the goats compared to the tar?
Oh, night and day.
Yeah. It's finding goats are easy. It's white on green, brown, or black, or whatever. And then it's just this assessment from the boat of, do we want to go to hell and back today? And can we get there? And can we retrieve the goat?
Yeah, is there even a route that is
So we saw,
accessible?
like you just said, Adam, we saw tons of goats, but how many of those goat possibilities did we just pass up because it was like, that's a suicide mission?
Over
19 out of 20, I'd say.
I don't know. I don't know. 70, 80% we passed up because it's like, don't know. We'll get 3, 4, 5 hours into this, get cliffed out, right? Now, also judging nannies from Billy's on a rocking boat 4 miles away is super easy too. We're really good at it. Steve's an expert, a nanny and Billy judge too. Which, by the way, just to mention, Steve had an epic season. He crushed this polar bear with his bow. Crushed a 72-inch moose like the week before with his bow. And then we were just going to go on a little goat hunt and hopefully shoot a billy. And as you'll hear, that ended well too. So Steve had a heck of a season, right? 24 is one to go down in the books.
That's one that I'll remember forever. That's not normal. That is all not normal, but very blessed this season, 100%.
All our podcast listeners are Googling again, how cold does it get in the winter? How many months a year do you have to live there? It's really cold, and you have to live there a really long time. Otherwise, everybody'd do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But so that afternoon, we actually did spot a couple billies up high.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we were all a little overzealous. Maybe we just wanted to get up there and like just start chasing stuff. And so he had a buddy from New Zealand along as well. Why wouldn't you? Prince William Sound. It's like just right around the corner. And so he lives in Alaska. And so we just took off. Right. So we took off, the 4 of us, and just decided to maybe go chase down some billies that afternoon, to which we covered about 25% of the ground that I thought we would in the following like 2 hours or whatever it was. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Was it just thick or thick or steep or
Both.
C,
Both.
all the above.
Yes.
all of the
Wait,
above?
what
Yes.
about wet and slick?
I would say all the above for sure. There's so much terrain you don't see looking from a boat that once you're in there, you're like, oh wow, you could hide a whole football field right here.
Yeah, you're like they're just right there, and then right there just you keep going, and it's like, well, right there keeps getting farther away.
It's one of the few times in my life, though, that I like said, let's go on a stalk. And then just kind of midway said, that was a bad idea. Let's go back to the boat. Like, I don't usually do that. I like to finish what I start, but it was just obvious it wasn't going to end well.
Yeah.
Either somebody getting hurt, shooting stuff at night, or just not getting there and wasting a bunch of energy.
Or just sleeping on the side of the mountain because there's no way if we would have gone up after that first group of goats that we liked, if we would have gone up and committed to them, we would have been sleeping, on the mountain that night. There's no way we could have came back down that in the dark.
And we did leave our camping stuff, our spike camp stuff on the boat because it was just like, let's go in a hurry, let's stay light. And so we're also like, okay, we don't have gear to stay the night, so we backed out.
Yeah.
So then some fog rolled in, heavy fog. It also was very hard to spot goats with the fog. So remember, we got up the next morning and went to spot, and
Oh, yeah.
you couldn't even see the outboards on the back of the boat hardly. Oh, wow. So then we said, well, let's kind of go putt around. So we putted around for a long time. And then said, let's go around this cove and, go do, half-hour drive over to maybe where there's probably going to be some other goats. And that's when we saw a bear.
Oh, nice. Land
that's
of
what happens
opportunity.
Bears on the beach.
Yeah. Bear. SEAL Team 6.
Yeah.
Dude, it all happened. That went down quick.
I went down
That
too.
would
I
go
was
so
asleep.
fast. And that's beach bear hunting. Like when you're cruising and you're just kind of doing your thing, boom, you come around a corner, they're there, and it is like everybody's 100 miles an hour just trying to get gear ready, jump out of the boat, whatever.
Yeah, and I think you spotted the bear, didn't you, Steve?
I can't remember. I think we have a lawnmower going by. It's just golf course thinking, come on.
Oh, we can see
I
it.
can't even hear it.
I can't hear it, but I can see it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's
Might
awesome.
get noisy
Well,
for about 2 minutes.
No, I think
I
you're
can't
good.
hear it. What hole are you on?
6.
So Kobe's sleeping. He's waking up at this point.
Yeah.
You guys are going.
I woke up real quick.
Okay, so you guys are going after.
I was just grabbing my gun really quick. I had a Model 307 Alpine CT 300 Weatherby dialed in for long range. Remember that. Dialed in for long range.
Yeah,
We're going to
usually
repeat this part of the story a few times.
We tested a lot of good long range guns on this trip.
Yeah, yeah. And normally I'm grabbing 2 cameras in my backpack and tripod, but I mean this thing, I can tell it's gonna happen how it's gonna happen. I'll just say that. And so I grabbed 1 camera with a 24-70 on it. That's all I grabbed to film this, and I definitely made the right choice.
Gino just beached us on the rocks downwind from him, and then it was
And we did. We saw the bear, and we could play the winds. The winds are pretty good, so we played the winds right. Gina dumped us right where we needed to be.
yeah
That
right
was a good job.
right downwind, and then we were just gonna go look at tide pools for a while, basically. So we were catching starfish and poking sea anemones, and so we just a stalk like basically in these like kind of tide pools and rocks that are super sharp, and you're kind of walking along and kind of you don't want to fall down. What's cool is Steve goes, dude, look at this archway. And there's this sweet, like the rocky point comes out in between us and the bear, right? Picture big point. We just know he's on the beach on the other side, way less than 100 yards. But we had this, and there's this archway. He's like, how sick would it be if we could shoot a bear through the archway? So we come up to this arch and start poking around, and we can't find him. And all of a sudden, at that point, I went, look, we just did this beach thing, and we've been moving around, and Winchmond, he's probably up in the thick stuff. And I think my percentage started to go down, maybe a little bit of what I thought. I don't know. Were you keeping hope, Steve, for it?
I don't know, man. I kind of had a little more hope, but I was with you on that. Like, I was kind of like, maybe he did slip off in the brush when we weren't seeing him right away, But
Yeah.
I had a feeling he was still in the vicinity. I don't know.
Yes, we knew he was close by. So bottom line is we pop in the rocks on the outside. The arch is here, and then it forms rocks that come out a little bit further. And then we just said, let's kind of keep poking. So Steve went up there, and I was looking around this way because I'm like, I bet he went in the hills, and Steve's poking around. Pretty soon, Koby got eye contact with Steve.
Yeah.
Koby looks at me, and he's just pointing up there like this bear's like on top of me. pretty much.
I'm like, yeah, get out there. He wants you out there.
Yeah, that's cool.
So bottom line is the 300 Weatherby we've now proven will work out to 40 yards.
Oh,
One
wow.
shot kill.
Okay. So that just like proves how sneaky you guys are. No.
Dude,
I'll
pretty
never
good stock.
forget it.
Yeah.
I will never forget it because Steve was out there first. Adam goes out, and then I go out. And Adam sets the bipod up on the rock. Steve's on the end.
I didn't need a
can't-
bipod. I could have freehanded. I'm just
Yeah.
not used to 40-yard rifle shots.
Yeah. And I'm behind him. I can't actually see the bear. Steve is like holding on to me so I don't fall into the ocean behind me. And I just stick the camera up in the air and point it towards the bear. Like, I can't see it.
And
that
you
looks
got
about
the kill
right.
shot,
And I got
right?
it.
Yeah.
I think there's just some weird thing about Weatherby where you were born to get kill shots because like that's like half of your kill shot stories. You're like, yeah, well, I was just like somehow barely got on this and it's like a perfect kill shot.
But what's cool is like 10 minutes before he was sleeping on the boat and we were hunting goats. And then like 10 minutes later, we had a dead bear. And it had to happen quick. And that's how beach bear hunting is.
Yeah, it was so fast. Once we got on the beach and it was like, okay, and once we got on the beach, because a lot of times in those coves, the wind can swirl and, you know, they blow you out and you never see them leave. But once we got on the beach and I felt the wind was still like really in our face, I was like, okay, there's a really good chance here. And then, yeah, it kind of turned to a clown show, like Koby was saying, once we were all setting up for the shot. You know, I thought Koby was going to go swimming at some point.
It was a real mature boar. Like, I was super happy with it. I mean, we measured him over 6 foot.
Nice.
You know, for a coastal bear up there, he's super good bear. His coat was the best coat on a bear I've shot. I mean, his coat was phenomenal.
Beautiful.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. Just black, had a little brown on the face. Just beautiful.
When you guys were caping him, was he kind of getting fatty? Because you guys went late September, or was he still pretty lean?
No, he was lean. He wasn't a fat bear.
Gotcha.
He was pretty lean. Yeah.
Oh wait, you guys went October, first week of October. Yeah.
I can't even remember. I think so. Yeah, beginning of
Sure.
October.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Sometime in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So the pack out was brutal. We had to.
Man, your sarcasm. I'm not catching up today. We had an early
the
morning.
pack out was rough because the boat came in and we had to tie a rope around the bear's neck to get it out to the boat and then take care of it on the boat. So, yeah. So it was a rough morning.
That's awesome.
So,
That
yeah,
just is Alaska things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't even hear the lawnmower. You repositioned yourself.
I did
Yeah.
reposition myself because I couldn't really hear you guys very well.
Wow, your microphone's good. So anyways, that was super fun. So I punched a tag for the bear, and then we were just literally back on the boat, and we're like, it's just like on the boat. And it's like, gotta go goat hunting. And
Let's
we
go.
We just went goat
On
hunting.
to the next. It's like
On
you
to the
get
next.
everything like
No time. Maybe egg rolls.
everything taken care
Whoa,
of.
whoa,
and
whoa.
you're like,
Even before that, it was like we got on the boat and then it was like, oh, here comes some sea ducks. Let's just post up.
Oh, yeah.
We're just sitting on the boat and these birds start flying by. And what happened next? Dude, I mean, we weren't on the boat.
Scoter.
Yeah, we weren't on the boat 4 or 5 minutes and we're already starting to shoot sea ducks going by, scoters going by.
How did I know you
It was
guys
surf scooter, right?
This
Or was
one
it
was
a white wing?
White wing. That
White
was the
wing. Yeah, white wing.
Yeah.
How did I not know you
Tyler's
guys
in love
killed
with sea ducks. Yeah.
Yeah, how did I not know you guys killed scoters? Where was the hell on that one?
I don't know.
I just like got
kept
really
it.
excited.
Well, there wasn't a ton right then, and
Yeah.
Steve grabbed the shotgun out of my hands and shot it.
His shot on that duck might have been further than Adam's bear.
Did you hear Koby?
What'd he say?
I said, your shot on that duck might have actually been further than Adam's bear.
It's probably pretty true.
It is.
That's awesome.
That's true. So we got distracted with sea ducks.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Then we went goat hunting again. And then we found goats. And then it's like, are they nannies or billies? Are they too high? And then you're planning out the route. I mean, basically, you're sitting on the boat. You're looking at OnX. You're looking at them. And you're just trying to find, can I get a line to them and back? And what's the likelihood we can do that by midnight? And that's kind of the game.
And how beautiful was that fog burning off with the boat? Like when we got off the boat to glass,
yeah.
looking back at the
Yeah.
boat with all the fog burning off and the sun coming through. I was like, man, I keep going back to that moment. Like, this is so sick. We're about to go climb up a gnarly, gnarly mountain chasing a goat. And we have this to get us started. Is just awesome image. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So we found a bunch of goats. The likelihood of a big billy, if we were honest with ourselves at that moment, is we didn't know. It wasn't like we're going after the lone billy that's up super high and you could tell he's just probably old. We knew there was some nannies, there were some goats, figured there'd be some billies, but we kind of took a chance.
Couldn't we only see 2 initially on the ones that we stalked on?
That's right. That's right, Koby. At first, it was like we see 2. They're kind of bedded separate of each other, so kind of billy-like activity. We were pretty sure there were billies, but yeah, we definitely didn't see more than that, and we didn't know how many were actually in there once we got going up the mountain and back in that bowl. There's just so many more show up once you're on boots on soil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that initial trek into the stalk was where the thick stuff was. We found a little bit of a creek bottom to meander up and kind of bomb up.
We left at 1 p.m. from the boat, I remember. And we go get these goats and just be back by dark. Right? I mean, it's not going to be that hard.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So the egg rolls were going to be ready at 6:30, something like that.
That had me motivated.
But yeah, so we picked this line, but it was 5 hours later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That we were on goats.
Okay.
5 o'clock, 4 hours.
It was 5.
And that was one nice thing about having Marcel with us, because he hunts goats. Like, he's not chasing them down in New Zealand tar. He's up in Alaska chasing mountain goats. And I mean, the guy is probably the most switched on, most skilled hunter I've ever met personally in the field. Like, he's incredible. And so when he's like, yeah, those are the ones you're going to want to go after, and he kind of like, he was going to stay on the boat, but he also said, he's like, this is the line I would kind of work. And then once you get up there, you might find a goat trail getting through the cliffs. And we kind of left the boat, as you guys remember, with like, this is the throw of the dice, right? I was convinced we were going to get up in that bowl. There's no way we were going to scale that amphitheater getting up to the goats. And the trek happened. Adam, you said it was like 5 hours working our way through that nasty stuff. And then I think you're the one that found the goat trail through the cliffs, if I'm correct.
Koby
right?
did. Koby did.
Yeah, I found it. Yeah.
But that was after getting beat up by alders so thick that, 10 yards was 10 minutes or something, that kind of stuff. Scaling up a bunch of boulders, kind of a scree field, boulder type of stuff, tromping through creeks. By the time we got to where the goats were, it was 5 hours. It was 2.2 miles, and we climbed 3,000 feet in only a couple miles.
Yeah.
So not easy going. But yeah, so we I think at one point we said maybe 50-50. I remember after we went through that bad alder section and we got up there, we're both looking, and I'm like, I don't know if we're going to make it up there. If there was going to be.
We were at that rock having our snack, and that's when I spotted that little goat trail. I said, what about this? There's just kind of a green line headed up this cliff band, and it just looked intriguing enough that it looked like it was something that we could safely navigate, which was the legitimate only spot. And like he said, it was an amphitheater of just cliffs, kind of half circle like. It was gnarly.
But even going up that goat trail, we're not goats.
No.
And Vic's brother was along with us too.
Yeah, Eddie.
And
Eddie slipped. Yeah.
It brought Koby some flashbacks from New Zealand.
Yeah, it humbled me. After that, it switched me on to, like, I was already being very careful, but that right there, I was like, oh, gave me the chills. I thought, because he slid like 20 yards and caught a sapling, and it was just like, look down from there. I'm like, yeah, you missed that sapling. You got 1,000 feet to go. So let's watch every step.
Yeah.
We were there for each other. We were taking it easy. We were trying to do, I think, safety first through it all. But, we ended up getting up there. And for a while, we'd seen one that we were pretty sure was a big billy, but there was just a lot of nannies everywhere.
Yeah.
And so when we got up in there, it was just kind of like nanny fest for a while.
2 turned into like...
Koby said we left the boat knowing there was 2. And when we got up on the amphitheater ridge, we could see 10, maybe?
Yeah, counting those ones to the left,
11,
I would say
12.
Yeah, 10 to 12 goats in total.
We got in there.
Up in there.
Our first thought is, back to the goat activity, right? Our first thought is we found the nursery, right? Because we did see a kid. We saw one real small one, and then we saw the other goats together kind of around the same area, and we're kind of thinking like, yeah, there might be a few billies in here, but this seems like the nursery that we're on, right? We were kind of confused. And then we ended up getting, we were about 400 yards away when we could see that small group on that little ravine area, that little plateau. And I remember looking and then looking back at, I think you, Adam, and saying, I'm pretty sure that one's a billy, but the rest of them look like nannies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was when we were like glassing from inside the trees, I remember.
That's right. We were in the trees trying to stay, because goats have phenomenal eyesight. If you can see a goat, it can see you. That's what I adopted. When I start a stalk on a goat, that's just how I roll. If I can see it, it can see me, so I just try to stay out of sight. And then we got into that 400-yard range and got good glass, and we could see his head. He's looking around, and I was like, okay, that one's a billy. The rest of them look like nannies. And then that's when we started to kind of like really consider what route we were going to take to get on top of them and get in a good position,
The problem is when we squeezed in from there, we kind of only got a little bit of glimpses of him, and then we lost him and kind of saw some nannies. And we got up in there, and we thought this would be a good shooting position just 100 yards before, but there was a big dip kind of down in there, and we kind of lost some visibility for a while.
It was kind of this rolling hill with like a series of benches that were just deep enough that you couldn't like see onto them and see to that next level without being there.
Yeah. For like goat activity, Steve, what time of year is this like a rut, or like what time of year is it, or are they just doing their own thing? When do goats rut?
I would say like you're probably, when we were there, we're post rut, or sorry, we're pre rut, but just barely. Like it was just about to start kicking off.
So it makes sense that it would make sense that you had the nursery and then maybe another couple of like male goats, just like billies doing their thing, maybe getting kind of frisky, moving in.
Yeah, so almost like satellite billies, if you want to call them that, whatever. There's the herd there, and they're kind of hanging around, checking things out. But yeah, the fact that we rolled in and there was the group and there was that one big billy in there, that shows me signs of pre-rut activity for sure.
Yeah. But we'd glassed to like a neighboring hill on the other side during that and saw one billy just way up high, and you're like, okay, that's probably that big billy. So at this point, we hadn't got a good enough glance or spotting scope on them. I mean, it's hard if you haven't goat hunted a lot. I mean, even if you have, it's a hard thing. It's like judging bears and other things. It's not, okay, there's an elk and there's his fourth and his fifth. It's a different deal. And so we weren't convinced at that point, though, about the age or, a lot of things yet. And so, but we got in where we got lost not lost, but we knew where the goats were, but they were up and over this rise. And the problem was the sun was going down quick. We just went on a 5-hour thing. The sun's almost down. It was dinner time, and we hadn't shot a goat yet. And again, we wanted to go light and quick because we were going to be back for the egg rolls, so we left spike camp stuff on the boat. Because, I mean, imagine what it would have been like if we'd have each been packing a whole lot more stuff,
That's another hour or so,
yeah.
Maybe.
And we wanted to pack a goat out, and Eddie had a tag, maybe 2. There's 4 of us, so we were kind of light going in there. So there was a point at which I think, Steve's like, we got to go in after this goat now or not. And so.
Yeah, is that do or die?
Daylight. Yes. The daylight ticking, the route we took up, the fact that in the evenings when the temperature changes, the grass gets really wet no matter what, just with condensation. I just knew, I just felt that pressure like, hey, we just got to be aggressive and make a push now or back off and maybe try this again super early in the morning. Nobody wanted to do that.
No, no.
Let's get aggressive. Let's go try and make
we
it
went
happen.
in and got aggressive and basically bumped him out of his bed at 20 yards.
18?
18 when he stood up looking at us.
And guess how far the shot was?
Probably
40 yards.
40 yards.
40 yards, closer than the scoter, but about the same as the bear. And guess what? Another one-shot kill.
Yeah.
But here's the cool thing. The few cool things. One, how cool of a billy it ended up being. Mm-hmm. It ended up being a 9-year-old Billy.
10-year-old Billy.
10 years old.
Wow.
I mean, that's awesome up in those conditions. So very mature Billy. And number 2, where it died.
Insane.
Steve, tell him about that.
Oh man, that was so. He jumps up. We gave him the initial scare where he kind of ran 20 yards and then spun around to look back. What was that? So he's out 40 yards. Koby, are you ready? Koby's like, yes, I'm ready. I'm on him. And so I squeezed off, hit him good. It's kind of hard to not hit him good at 40 yards, but hit him good. But he's still standing. So I re-racked, ready to send another round and try to anchor him. But he's standing there looking like he's getting sick, and he's kind of like looking for a place to lay down. So instead of just dumping him and putting another one in him, I actually waited, and I'm just like, oh, please don't drop where he currently was standing. And he took, what would you say, 10 yards maybe? Maybe a 10-yard walk to that bed.
Yeah.
So he walks down into the side 10 yards and lays down in an old goat bed and laid there, and he quickly expired while he was laying there in that goat bed. If he would not have laid down in that bed and died, I'm almost 95% sure there would have been no way we would have recovered him, because he was going to dump, and we know from butchering him on the side of that goat bed, you guys think he would have gone over that cliff?
100%.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, it had been a 1,000-yard vertical drop type of thing. And it was literally, this little goat bed just kind of leveled a tiny bit. We could barely even get pictures in it and barely even dress the animal and cape it out. It was so much of a little, I mean, it was very steep. And if it would have not just dropped right there, if it had dropped 4 feet from there, really in any direction, we would have lost him. I don't know if we'd have recovered him.
That's crazy.
It was
Yeah,
cool.
it was.
And then when we get up there too, Steve just goes up, double checks. It's a Billy. It's mature. And the coolest thing, because sometimes you really know, like, I know that animal. I'm gonna go get it. You're just confident in the trophy. Goat hunting, I don't think is always like that in my limited experience and on my goat hunt. And you get up, and it was one of those. It's the best Billy you've ever shot, right? You shot a handful of goats.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely my best Billy for sure.
Nice.
So. Yeah, it was awesome. Koby, in the meantime, getting sunset pictures. I'm off over because we got some new product. We're out testing again. And so I'm getting a little bit of photo stuff at the last few minutes. And then it was like, of course, Steve's like, oh, it's the biggest one. Got to do a life size. So, of course, you got to take out a goat cape. So, so we cut the whole thing up, but it was dark.
Yeah.
When we
got
journey
our
back.
packs on, it was headlamps are going on. And so thankful to be done butchering and have it in the bags.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Koby. Yep.
No, I was finished. I just said it was good to have him at the bags and getting in the bags as headlamps started not being butchering still.
Mm-hmm.
I knew when he died and we were there, we gone up and we were taking hero pictures. That was where anxiety started setting in for me. There was a lot of relief and happiness, obviously, with the harvest of the animal, the camaraderie our group was sharing. It was just so fun being up there with you guys. But then at the same other side, I was feeling so much anxiety. Dude, now we got to come off this crazy climb with heavy packs, and we know the first half of this is going to be dangerous until we get down to that spot we called the Autobahn. And then I was like, oh man, I just started praying in my head immediately. The last thing I want is someone to come up here chasing a Billy with me, help me on my animal, and then something happens and someone gets hurt coming out. If anybody falls, I want it to be me. You know what I mean? Kind of one of those type of scenarios. But then it was dude, I was a little bit honestly soured from the scenario we were in with all this high five and broing out. I was a little bit soured because I was like, oh God, now we're in for it. This is gonna be a beating coming out of here in pitch black, with heavy packs. And
it was like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows kind of at the same moment. Mm-hmm. I know Steve was feeling that level of, quote, responsibility. It was kind of his goat. He's the Alaska guy. Koby, if you haven't listened to it, you can listen to our New Zealand podcast from earlier. Had a big spill on a steep mountain in New Zealand, the worst I've ever witnessed in person. So I look over at Koby, and he's starting to get white as a ghost again. I saw him in New Zealand. I hadn't seen him like that since we were there last spring.
I was feeling it. I was being careful, but when I came back, I told some of my buddies, I'm like, that's the first time in my life I've like just been on a mountainside and been like slightly in fear for my life in a way, you know, like not like I'm gonna die, but like, hey, I know that one wrong step can be really bad, as I've been through it before, but feeling similar conditions.
But, you know, sometimes fear is healthy in those scenarios. So because of that, you know, we could have got back to the boat quicker. You know, we had dinner on the boat at 1 a.m. We missed our 6 p.m. dinner, so we hit the 1 a.m. shift. The cruise buffet was out. And so, you know, so it was long, but it was careful. We were regrouping. We were checking in verbally with each other constantly and just kind of like, hey, we're here for each other. And if anybody needs to shift some weight around, let's do that. Let's make sure, you know, we're all okay, you know, coming down.
Started setting in, at least for me. My legs started cramping, but there's only one way, like Adam's saying, to get through that scenario is just move super slow. Who cares if it takes all night? And just be sure-footed when you take the next step. And that's it. Yeah. You know, that's how you do that. You already have accepted that you're going to be up all night moving, like getting off the mountain. But at that point, it was just like, let's go slow. Let's check in with each other. Use teamwork. If we get too far ahead of somebody, we're going to hold up. Everybody's going to wait for everybody in this scenario, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kobe, question for you real quick. We've talked about this a lot, about dream hunts and dream things.
Yeah.
This is your first goat hunt that you've been on. What did you have any cool feelings of like, man, this is wild where we're at? Or
Oh yeah, absolutely. To be up in that country is amazing. I don't know where exactly this came from. Maybe because my dad shot a goat before I was born. But like mountain goat's like my dream hunt of any hunt I could pick in the world, like regardless of price. Like I want a goat hunt. And so to like get to go on my first goat hunt and experience it and document it was really cool and really special for sure. Like where they live is awesome and they're just a rad creature. And so thanks for sharing that with us, Steve.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And packing it out.
I'm honored that you guys were there. I really am.
Packing it out under the northern lights too. That was the cool part about the pack out was a phenomenal northern lights.
Yeah,
display.
Here's Koby. We got weight on our back, like we're starving. Hold on, stop right here. You have to hold real still. I have a real slow shutter speed, and I'm going to get the goat on the back with the northern lights.
I saw that photo. That photo's sweet.
It was cool.
You can give me crap at him, but I know you love that photo.
It's good. It's a good photo.
It just happened. How crazy is that? All this has taken place during one of the biggest solar storms we've had probably in the last 5 years in Alaska. You know what I mean?
How about that time lapse I sent you, huh?
Oh, insane, man. It's so cool. I'm literally so pumped to see the footage when this thing comes out.
This film's gonna be fun. So it might not come out till just because of product stuff. Probably gearing up for hunting season next year. So it's gonna be a while, like next summer.
There's
deal.
a lot of production to go in behind it as we're doing. I'm doing things a little bit differently with this one, and there's just a lot. And then, kind of gonna tee it up for going into next hunting season with products we got, and just kind of time of year that's good to launch a film like this.
Yeah, we're always working on something. So we did gloss over the rifle that Steve was using, but I think that was for good reason. But
next year we'll tell you about it. I mean, was it a heavy rifle, Steve?
I mean, what's funny is I was telling Adam, like, I have my Nalgene normally back there filled with water, obviously. And then I didn't have my Nalgene in its normal place. I had the rifle where my Nalgene normally goes. And it really just kind of felt like the same weight, the same everything as my Nalgene. I was like, okay, Mr. Weatherby, you've clearly nailed the lightweight thing with this product for sure.
That's cool.
Okay, that's all we're going to say. That's all we're going to say.
That's all you get.
That's good. Nalgene, the new Weatherby Nalgene.
Yeah, Weatherby Nalgene.
So, the next day, I went back up with Eddie, Vic's brother, to try to get him a goat, to no avail. So Steve actually went back up the next day.
We gotta
Koby and I just
do
crushed
some fishing.
Yeah, got like ginormous yellow eye and cool stuff on the boat.
I was a little jealous when I saw the pictures.
It was cool. Yeah, caught some fish on the boat, and that kind of. I mean, from the hunt sequence, that kind of wrapped it up.
There's not a what's next. I mean, we've been saying what's.
I mean,
it took us.
Adventure getting
what
back.
What are you working on, Adam?
What, next year? What are you talking about?
Yeah. What's
You talking
next?
about
What Tyler asked. What's next?
25? We got big plans.
Big year.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, I swear. So every time you guys would text or like talk, Adam would we had like multiple hour conversations of like what if scenarios on hunt ideas. To me, I'm like, yeah, these are all great. Can we do them all? So it was
Yeah, we
pretty cool.
did. But no, next year we're gonna head back and do round 2. So right,
Nice.
but not the same thing.
Yeah.
Probably different species.
We're gonna throw some curveballs in there, see some new terrain, see some new species. But yeah, it's gonna be an adventure.
It will. So it could be episode 1.
Yeah.
Season 1. No, season
Season
1.
one.
It'll be
Yeah.
season 1.
Season 1.
And we're going to be brewing up season 2.
Adventures with Steve.
Yeah, so it was cool. But I mean, logistically, the last day was like sunrise to sunset, just taking care of stuff. I mean, okay, we got to go check into bear and we got to do this and the taxidermist and let's get our meat and let's freeze our stuff and let's, we had cut up ducks and we had, some of the fish that we brought back. It was just like all day of doing stuff. Barely got it done. I got sick and then we went home. So it was great.
He got real sick. It was,
I did.
knocked him down.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So that's season 1. And appreciate, Steve. Thanks for having us to your part of the world where every day is an adventure.
Yeah.
Honestly, like one of the greatest thrills I have as an Alaskan is not that it ever gets old for me or anything like that. I'm not saying that even a little bit. But what I love doing is seeing Alaska through the lens of someone who's new or hasn't spent a whole lot of time there. I know you guys have been up there before, but just it's so fun. Like going out, even if it's in my backyard and then my old stomping grounds, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, when you take someone in there and it's fun. It's thrilling. It's like, oh, dude, they're seeing like this stuff that's super exciting for them. And yeah, it's kind of, I felt a little bit like that just having you guys up, and I'm super excited to have you guys back for sure.
No, we appreciate it. We felt like that too. I realized I've been to Alaska 3 times this last year. So
It was 3 times in 10 months.
Yeah,
And that for me as well. And you went on a different trip than I did. Our summer trips were different, but 2 together.
But it's cool. I mean,
What are you waiting for, dude? Get Alaska residence. Just apply for it now. That's it, man.
Hey. He works for us. Right?
Wyoming's pretty wild. So
What's cool is since then we had out a handful of people, some friends and family members, and just doing hunts down here in Wyoming. It's the same sort of thing when people come out here and we get to introduce them to the wild spaces. It's different, but it's a similar type of thing where we live in a wide open, pretty sweet place out here with a whole lot of hunting and just today it'd be bird hunting before we came into work and it was elk hunting last weekend and it's just I'll be elk and deer hunting this weekend, so it's a cool playground. But it is cool to share it with people, and sometimes it's as much fun. I mean, Koby and I didn't pull the trigger on that goat, but to have it on our back and experience it, we got as hunters, like we don't always have to have the tag in our pocket or pull the trigger to get that incredible experience.
Yeah, 100%. Pulling the trigger is the easy part, right?
Yeah, especially at 40 yards.
Yeah, right. Especially that. It's everything else leading up to it. It really is. It's one of those, just the experience and everything that you got to be there, present, and right there, even for the kill shot. I mean, pulling the trigger is the easy part.
yeah, that's awesome. Speaking of sharing things, Steve, you have a pretty cool Instagram. What's your handle?
AK Sky Guy, and Stevie Baldy is my. Everybody just calls me Stevie, and then I've always had the nickname Baldy. So, but yeah,
Nice, cool.
come hang out.
Yeah. Check out his page. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we love Alaska in general. We've got like a sheep film out there right now. We've got a bunch of Alaska films out right now.
Yeah,
so
we do.
Check those out. We got a Kodiak film. We're gonna have a Kodiak duck film. We've got Alaska bears with Hushin. We've got so many Alaska stuff in the last year. People should go check it out.
Yeah.
So
For
cool.
sure.
All right, Steve, we're gonna have you on again. I think we're gonna wrap this up, and until next time.
Mahalo.
Honor being here, boys. It's good seeing you again. Koby, I'm still jealous of your hair, but other than that,
Everyone is. What can I say?
Say hi to Chantel and the fam. We'll see ya.
All right, see you guys.
Okay,
Take her easy.
later.
Later.
See ya.